All right. Well, welcome back to Exhaust Sports Auto. My name is Kevin, and we're going to be giving the little LS460 project car a break here because we are going to review this 2015 Land Rover, Range Rover, the full-size one basically is what we're going to review today. And who do we have to thank for this opportunity? It is none other than Cary Imports in Cary, North Carolina. So I will leave all their information down below if you want to purchase this full-size Rover, which is now going for like what, $36,000, so less than half the price of a new one. Cool. And this vehicle does have like 96,000 miles on it, something to keep in mind. If you do want to purchase this car, if you're sitting there asking me, what's going to go wrong with it, everything. So just buy their warranty and just be done with it. Okay, that's my suggestion to you. But enough of that. Let's go ahead and let's talk about what the Range Rover is, to me anyway, and let's kind of talk about the looks of it as well. So what is the Range Rover? Well, it's interesting because it's seen as a status symbol, obviously, especially this, the full body ones, of course. It's just showing off basically. But I was always wondering, like, why do rich people clamor all over this vehicle? Like, what is it about the Range Rovers that rich people just love? And after driving a few, I kind of started to understand. They are sublime pieces of machinery to operate and drive. I'm not going to lie. It does kind of sort of meet up to the expectations. I drove the previous generation supercharged Range Rover with like 510 horsepower. Loved driving that car. I think that vehicle even had like 140,000 miles on it, and it performed like a brand new vehicle. It looked like a brand new car inside out. I was so impressed with the way that it has aged, right? And by aged, I mean like, how everything feels, like the paint quality, the leather quality, all these things, right? It's all beat up and torn up. Same goes for this vehicle as well. The way it drives, it's so buttery and smooth. And let's be honest, the way it looks, it does look imperial. Okay, it does look like a fortress, a cathedral on four wheels. It does have a big boss, prestigious look to it. And people do look at it. People do take notice to it. A lot of people really enjoy this vehicle, right? Let's see what it's all about here. Very smooth power output. Effortlessly gets up to speed. It's not even remotely an issue. This is, in fact, the 3-liter supercharged V6, of course, producing 340 horsepower and 332, I believe, pounds-feet of torque. I drove the same generation of the Range Rover Sport as well with the exact same engine, and I find this to be plenty to move this vehicle around. So with that little demonstration of its power, let's go ahead and let's transition over into this driving, shall we? Okay, so one thing to note about this vehicle, it does utilize the 22-inch wheels, which is ridiculous, and you will certainly be feeling the bumps in this vehicle. Like, it's a comfortable car, but when you go over like the really rough stuff, you will notice it and you will hear it, but they do look amazing on this car. I will give it that. Vehicle is very quiet even at speeds, and there's hardly any tire noise as well. This vehicle does use very nice Continental cross-contact tires as well, and this vehicle also does utilize double pane glass, so it's a very quiet vehicle at speeds, very refined. You have an excellent command of the road for sure, and it's actually surprisingly effortless to whip this car around despite its gargantuan size. Despite it being a full-size Rover, this vehicle is just so easy to place out on the road and to drive. 8-speed transmission. I believe for 2015 the 8-speed ZF actually got revised and retuned a little bit, but also 2013, that's kind of the first model year of this generation of Range Rover, right? And the biggest highlight, the biggest change here was obviously utilizing a full aluminum construction of the body, basically. And this is shed over like 700 pounds, I believe, off the curb weight compared to the previous generation, depending on the trim levels and spec that you go with. But this vehicle still weighs like 4,900 pounds. 4,900 to 5,300 pounds is the curb weight of this vehicle. So something to keep in mind. It's still no lightweight, but honestly, I really don't care, because in the real world, a heavy curb weight car has a great sensation. Gives you a nice planted sensation out on the road. So to be honest, I don't really notice a huge difference between the previous generation and this vehicle in terms of driving dynamics anyway. I feel like they're both very heavy vehicles. I mean, I'll test more of the handling out here in a little bit, but that's not really what I care about. I just care about the fact that this is a nice prestigious package of a vehicle, basically. That's what I really appreciate with it. And Range Rover does claim that this vehicle, because of the weight savings, you get like a 9% better fuel economy than the previous generation, but I believe it still only gets like 17 in the city, 23 on the highway, something like that, some abysmal count like that, because it is still a very large vehicle, of course. But this is very effortless power. I have no issues, with the way that this thing moves. I mean, this is very effortless power for what it is. I don't think you need a larger motor than this for pragmatic reasons out on the street. But I will say there's a pretty annoying rattle coming from the center console here. This thing has been baking out in the sun, so something to keep in mind. The brakes on this vehicle also really good. Gives you a lot of stopping power for sure. You know what, the body control for such a large vehicle isn't half bad. Revs out quickly. Okay, very good. You know, it's very effortless to whip this vehicle around, and I get why so many people like driving these large gargantuan vehicles, because you feel like you're in a nice solid machine, because you close the door, you feel just how solid it is, and then you kind of drive it around. It's so plush, it's so easy, it's so effortless. But again, like I mentioned, with the 22-inch wheels, you do feel the bumps a little bit more than probably what you should. I would recommend maybe 20-inch rims on a vehicle like this. I think that would be more appropriate. You know, it's the same thing that I said about the new Genesis GV80 that came with 22-inch wheels. You just start to feel all the little nuanced bumps a little bit more than you probably should in a car like this. And this is the standard wheelbase version of the car. If you got the long wheelbase, it could ride a little bit better because of the longer wheelbase, of course. We'll talk more about that in the interior segment, but anyway. Yeah, definitely the handling characteristics of this car is going to blow most people away. I'm kind of starting to understand why this car costs so much money now, especially brand new. You know, starts around $70,000 to $75,000, but it's got to do everything, right? It's obviously a Range Rover, so it's got to do all the crazy off-roading gimmicks, right? It's got to do all that because it's just part of the heritage of the Range Rovers, and it also pulls off a great street balance as well. This is also a great street car. Handles well, it's athletic enough, and you kind of chuck it in. It's so effortless, and it can still do all the off-road things that you need to do. And because it's a supercharged motor, made it to this excellent 8-speed ZF, there's hardly any lag with the car. It just kind of goes about its business. It really does what you need it to do. So I also appreciate that as well. So yeah, it's a low compromise vehicle. You know, only cons I've noticed with this car, of course, is the kind of rattlings I've noticed, and it's just kind of been sitting out in the sun. So I do forgive it a little bit, but it's just something to note. Some of these panels are creaking around a little bit more, but for the most part, man, this is such a solid experience. And the only other thing, of course, is the 22-inch wheels. You know, you're going to feel a little bit of the bumps, but it's still a very comfortable vehicle, of course, right? You just know the pavement that you're going over. It doesn't just isolate you from it, but otherwise it is a very plush vehicle. It's a very non-fatiguing vehicle to drive. I get why so many people like it. You know, if you like this car, if you lust after this vehicle and its prestige and its on-road capabilities, definitely please do consider getting the warranty. That's just a must-have. You know, that's the main complaints people have had, owners have had with this vehicle, is obviously the reliability concerns, which can be mitigated if you hedge yourself against it with a warranty. So that's why I consider buying that from Cary Imports. So with that established, let's go ahead and let's transition over into this interior now, shall we? Okay, so let's talk about the interior of the Range Rover, Land Rover, full size, whatever. Okay. The interior, this is a pretty big highlight with these cars. I mean, this thing, aside from a few creaks and rattles, which I can kind of forgive due to it being, you know, out in the sun for so long, this is, as a whole, pretty damn solid, actually. And it's aged really well, too. Like, all the leathers, all the wood trimmings, the steering wheel, all this stuff has just been aged flawlessly. I mean, you just kind of vacuum this thing out a little bit and this could pass as a brand new vehicle. I've always said this, and all these high mileage Range Rovers have really impressed me, but I can't really say the same thing about Jaguars. For whatever reason, Jaguars don't age this well. The leathers, the wood trimmings, the other trimmings, I mean, they just never age as well as these Range Rover products. And I guess it makes sense. I mean, these are very expensive products, the Range Rovers. I mean, they cost significantly more than a lot of the Jaguar counterparts, but I'm just saying, it still boggles my mind. So that's what I'm saying. You're getting a nice, neat car here, as long as you get the warranty, of course. That's the main thing I got to stress to you. But for 2015, a few enhancements have been made. Like, you have this new Range Rover app that you can use to kind of control things from your phone, right? So you have that to play with if you so choose. And also another nice little feature was added for the 2015 model years, where when you try to fold down the rear seats, if it detects that it's going to, hit the front seats, it'll automatically move the front seats forward to kind of clear it, basically. So that's a great thing. It's always really annoying when you're trying to put down the seats and it just won't, clear through because the front seats are too far back. So that's a cool thing that they changed as well. But other than that, I really did cover all this in the other Range Rover reviews I've done in the past. But climate control is great. I love the fact that it has its own dedicated displays and knobs, basically. The infotainment is actually really easy to use, easy in the way that it's laid out as well. Nice little camera system. So the camera systems, like the backup cameras, that all came standard. But to get the blind spot and the other safety tech, you had to get the Vision Assist package, which this vehicle does have. So this vehicle does have blind spot monitoring and some other safety tech as well, and some sensors along with it. Automatic headlights, of course. One-touch automatic windows for all 4 windows. And the main system upgrade, of course, is the 29-speaker Meridian sound system, which does sound truly stunning, of course. So big upgrade right there. Definitely mandatory for a luxurious vehicle like this, so I definitely do recommend that. The gauge cluster is the 12.3-inch gauge cluster, and it is fully digital and does do a decent job of reacting, actually. But I will say some of the buttons are a little bit sticky in here. That's the only other thing that I noticed. And of course you have your little off-road controls, right? So this car is plenty capable for you to do a little Nordstrom run, on a Wednesday afternoon basically, or to valet park this at a Olive Garden. Should not be an issue with this car. This is plenty capable for sure. So you have all these little buttons to play with if you so choose, but you're just going to put it into drive and tool it around town, of course. That's what everybody's going to do with it. And you have some storage spaces, and I love the wood trimmings in this vehicle. Little armrests. I don't understand why the glove box is electronic, but whatever. It is. And let's go ahead and let's talk about the rear seats now, because the rear seats, again, this is one thing I just don't like about Range Rovers. It's really hard to get in and out of the back seats, and it's also kind of constricted. Like, for such a large vehicle and such a wide vehicle, you would expect more space, and the headroom is great for sure. You can be a giraffe in here, but the rear seating space isn't really that large. So honestly, my preference would be to get the L model, but I mean, it's kind of extra. I don't really think too many people get the L models, but if you want that, that is an option. But this, I mean, like 90% of people can fit back there, so I guess it's not too bad. But I'm just saying, I just expected more space back there. And again, the leather quality continues back there. These seats are extremely comfortable, and you have your own HVAC to play with back there, as well as heated seats as well in the rear too. So great little features there to play with. And the trunk space is plenty, of course, in this vehicle, and you have a full-size spare as well in the trunk. So that's a great thing to see back there. So as a whole, yeah, I mean, I like these Rovers. I like driving these cars. These are hyper smooth vehicles. However, I could say the same thing about the Lexus LX 570. It's another vehicle I absolutely love. It honestly has a lot of the same characteristics as the LS, and a lot of these kind of effortless, smooth kind of driving natures. I kind of found all that with the LX 570 as well. But that's a Lexus, this is a Rover. Everybody wants a prestige, so I don't know what to tell you. Buy this with a warranty. That's really the only way to get it. Other vehicles, there is the Mercedes GLS, but I'd probably have to choose this over something like a GLS, honestly. I just think it's a cooler vehicle. Again, all with a warranty, of course. So with that, let me know your thoughts down below about this Range Rover, the full-size one. Let me know if you're an owner. Let me know how it's held up for you. And with that, thank you very much for watching. Take care, and goodbye.